Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to my channel where I make stuff for fun and then I share it with the good people of the internet. So, welcome. Over the holidays, I did a ton of baking. Like, more baking than I probably have in my entire life. And I realized while pouring flour all over myself that it would probably behoove me to make myself an apron. So today I'm gonna make a full-size apron. I might also make a half apron in the future. Who knows? That's a decision for future Megan to make. But anyway, yeah, today, full-size apron tutorial. Here we go. For this project, I cut out one rectangle of quilting cotton, 32 inches long and 25 inches wide. And then I'm using 1/2 inch double fold bias binding. I'm trying to use up some of my yellow binding here, and I have a piece that's 2.5 yards long. If you don't want to make your own, you could buy a package like this one here or something similar. And then if you want to add a pocket, I'm going to use a rectangle of fabric that's 10 inches long and 21 inches wide. Starting off working on the binding, open the binding up like so, and then trim straight across so the end is nice and straight. Then fold over about 1/2 inch and press down. Then fold the binding back together to enclose the raw edges. However, you'll notice here that the binding doesn't quite tuck in nicely, so I'm just cutting a wedge off of each side of that fold. So when I fold it all back together, it's tucked in neatly. Repeat on the other end of your binding. Then I'm going to sew the binding closed, starting at this corner, sewing my short end, then pivoting and sewing the length of the binding, pivoting again, and finishing at the other short end. Next, I'm going to work on the main body of the apron, making the underarm curves. So fold the fabric in half long ways. Then from the folded edge, measure over 7 inches and mark. Then measure down 9 inches from the 2 open ends and make a mark. Then draw a curve between these 2 points. I drew it several times until I got my desired curve. And you'll notice I started with a washable marker, then switched to chalk. And that's because I realized the camera wasn't picking up the marker very well. Then cut along the curve. And then you have your 2 underarm curves. Moving on to hemming, fold and press each side wrong sides together at 1/2 inch twice. And then do the same for the top edge, 1/2 inch twice. And then sew in place. You'll notice I didn't use pins. You can certainly pin these down if you like. I just decided to be a little cavalier about it and skipped the pinning. Then for the bottom hem, wrong sides together, fold up 1/2 inch and press. And then we're going to do a thick bottom hem, so we're going to fold up 1.5 inches and press again. Sew in place close to the hem edge. Next, for the underarms, we're going to make a casing for our binding. I used 1/2 inch binding, so I'm going to give myself a 1/4 inch ease to help thread my binding through my casing. I'm going to fold over 3¼ inches twice, press and pin in place. And then be sure not to sew this casing shut because we need to be able to thread our binding through it. Sew in place close to the hem edge. Okay, so attach a safety pin to one side of the binding and thread it through the bottom of one arm curve and then out the top. Then pull out a length of the binding and thread it through the top of the opposite arm curve and out the bottom. Try not to twist the binding so everything lays nice and flat. Adjust your ties, moving the upper edge higher or lower depending on where you like it. Hi, it's me, Megan from the future. Hindsight being 2020. If I could go back in time and do this again, I would use a full 3 yards of bias binding. This 2.5 yards is just a little bit too short. An extra half of a yard would have just made the ties a little bit longer so that I could actually wrap them around to the front and tie them in the front if I wanted. Not the end of the world, just something to keep in mind. If you want longer ties, use more binding. And you could stop here if you wanted. However, I want to add a pocket to my apron. So get your 21-inch wide by 10-inch long pocket piece. And we're going to create the top hem first by folding down 1/2 inch twice and pressing, and then sewing close to that hem to finish. Next, we're going to fold in the sides 1/4 inch twice, and then the bottom 1/4 inch twice. You can put your pocket wherever you want in relationship to the apron. I want mine just below my armhole. We need to find the center of the apron and mark that area, and then find the center of the pocket. And then line up those centers and pin the pocket to the apron along both sides and the bottom. Once everything is pinned down, again, find the middle of the pocket and draw a line straight down the middle. Sew the pocket close to the edges and along the bottom, leaving the top open. And then, if you like, sew down the center line to create 2 pockets instead of 1. Okay, here's the finished apron. What do you guys think? Okay, that's it. I'm very happy with how this turned out. Do I love it? Yes. Will I wear it all the time? I hope so, for my laundry's sake. Only thing I have to say, I already hopped in and said it earlier, just wish that the ties were a little bit longer, just so I could pull it around and tie it in the front. What can you do? I wanted to use my binding up. Now that I've made this one, I do think that I'm going to make a half apron that coordinates with this one, just for funsies, and that'll be its own separate video, so keep an eye out for that one. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see what other things I make, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!